I'm someone who's made six figures. I've made $200,000 plus as a creator in a year. I never wanted to quit my job. People were really shocked. Like, quote unquote, achieve the American dream. Why would you want to go back to work? I believed that in order to be a successful full-time entrepreneur, I needed this big team. And I mismanaged like the money that I made. And by the end of 2023, my finances were a mess.
Today, we have Cinneah El-Amin, who is a senior product manager, a content creator, and the creator and founder of Flynanced, a platform created to help Black women pursue financial independence without sacrificing joy. We talk about burnout, entrepreneurship, and why your version of wealth doesn't have to look like anyone else's.
Like, I have surpassed what I even thought I was capable of. I've done everything I ever manifested. I love having a 9-to-5 job, even though I'm a quote unquote successful creator. Right? In 2020, I paid off $23,000 of debt in 12 months.
What was it like sharing the amount of debt you were in for the first time publicly? Welcome to So How Much Do You Make?
Thank you.
To start off, so how much do you make?
This is such a great question. So right now in my 9-to-5, I make $189,000 as a senior product manager. My business is projected to do around 225 or 250 in top line revenue. Obviously, all of that I don't take home.
Sure.
But I have a pretty healthy profit margin
Yeah.
as a content creator. I don't have a ton of overhead. I don't have a huge team. So I think I'm doing pretty well.
I would say so. That's amazing.
For a 31-year-old, young woman. But yeah, I will say my journey to earning more was really a big catalyst for even starting Flynanced.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see a lot of women who looked like me talking candidly about money, talking candidly about their salaries. And as I was taking these steps to job hop, to grow my salary, to learn how to invest, I just felt like there was more that I needed to share.
Yeah.
And this like platform community business really just kind of evolved from that.
Great. Wow. Okay, let's go back to the beginning.
Yes.
Tell me about starting Flynanced. What were you doing? What was happening in your life? What made you want to start this platform?
Yes. So I was living in New York City in my early 20s, working my first big girl job. I had very little financial literacy, I will definitely say. Even though I went to an Ivy League institution and, had this great educational journey, I didn't really know much about managing money, about like what I should be doing in my early 20s. But what I did know was that commuting to work every day, even though I'd only been doing it for like a couple months, I was just like, I can't imagine doing this for 40 more years. Like, what?
Yeah.
And I remember sitting on the subway and like this article, like I think I was like subscribed to like the Cut newsletter or something. And this article was talking about FIRE, financial independence, retire early. And I just kind of felt like the heavens opened up. Like, can you imagine me on like this dingy subway car? And I'm just like, is this what the rest of my life has to look like? And then just seeing like this article talking about FIRE and seeing that there was really a blueprint to be able to retire early, to build wealth. I was blown away.
Yeah.
I was blown away. So, in my own money, I felt like I was making a decent salary then, and maybe I was making about like $70,000 a year, which is really good for like, early 20s.
Definitely.
Living on your own in New York City. But I don't really feel like I had anything to show for it. Like, I didn't have savings. I didn't have like a huge retirement investing account. So as I was going through like these money struggles, I, again, was like learning about FIRE. That article kind of was like the catalyst for that. Honestly, like I felt like a voice was telling me like, you're supposed to be talking about this.
Yeah.
Like, not to get so woo-sa,
Let's
but like,
woo.
I felt like God was like kind of telling me like, you're supposed to be sharing this journey.
Yeah.
Which I was very apprehensive of leaning into. I did not feel like I was a money expert, right? Like, I mean, this was like 2018, right? So I would see people like the Budgetista who had these huge platforms and worked with these huge brands and thought like, well, she's an expert. I'm not an expert. So why should I be talking about money? Like, I don't think there's anything that anyone can learn from me. Like, I'm still trying to figure it all out. But this voice just kept telling me that this is something that I was supposed to be doing. But I had a lot of fear about having a platform, talking about money.
Right.
Even just like I'd never taught anyone anything, right? Like, so it's just like, I mean, to see where I am today and to look back in 2018, I did not even think about what was possible for me and what this platform could do, not only for me, but for, all the women that I would meet along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really the catalyst. I was making a mess of my money and trying to figure it out and thought there have to be other women who maybe feel the same way.
Yeah.
And if I can find them, maybe that'll help me in my journey.
Yeah.
But I never really came into this thinking I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to be an influencer. Like those things were never, kind of my goals or aspirations for this. I think I was really coming into this wanting to just discover like how I was going to make this all work and wanting to find like-minded women to support me in that journey.
But I know you said that you were nervous to share.
Absolutely.
What? Was it because you're going against the grain? Was it because you felt so taboo talking about money? Was it all of the above? Was it more?
It was all of the above, but I think I felt probably a bit of imposter syndrome also because I felt at that point, what have I accomplished? Like, what makes me credible to even
talk about money?
Talk about money. To talk about money. But I think I quickly learned that no, actually, my lived experience does make me an expert in being able to talk about things differently, add different perspective. And I think I just had to kind of shift things away from thinking like day one, you're going to come in and be an expert on these topics. But what I really leaned into really early on in Flynanced was just being raw, being authentic, and being transparent because I felt like that was what was missing when I was, learning about FIRE, learning about debt freedom. But I still felt like there were not enough people that looked like me that were talking about this. I would then learn stats about like the wealth of Black America and then feel like this doesn't make something is not adding up here. Like how is there such a flurry of information, in these communities, but it's still somehow not getting to people who need it, If I go back home to Baltimore, like how many people know about retiring early, know about FIRE? Like, I just felt like there was still such a gap. But I think that fear really came from, I think just me probably having some limiting beliefs around like what I was like capable of doing.
What exactly was the gap that you were filling?
Yeah. So early on when I started Flynanced, really what I was passionate about talking about was how to balance financial freedom and debt-free travel.
Okay.
Like that was like why the name Flynanced came. Fly is in the name, fly and finances.
Love it.
I love traveling. I felt like as I was learning about debt freedom, there were a lot of people that followed like the Dave Ramsey baby steps. And he is very firm that if you're in debt, you shouldn't be taking vacations.
Right.
That was a part that just never sat well with me. If this journey is going to take me, at least 15, 20 years to even retire early entirely, or at least to get out of debt, it's going to take me years. I can't imagine myself not ever taking a single trip during that time. Like that just didn't feel aligned with my values, and it didn't feel like realistic advice for someone like me. That felt like, okay, if I have to go cold turkey to reach my financial goals, I'm probably not gonna reach them.
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable.
Right. So what was it like starting Flynanced? What were those like initial months like for you?
So it's so funny. When I finally got the gall to start posting, mostly it was like my friends, and family supporting me on Instagram. But, it was just like a fun hobby for me. Now, what I did not know was around the corner was the COVID-19 pandemic. So, overnight, my life just became working from my little bedroom. And then all of my other time was pretty much spent on Flynanced. Like it just became like my whole life. Like it was, but it was exciting, right?
Yeah.
Like I was meeting people. I was going live with people on Instagram. I was, I just felt like I was having so many great conversations. I was reading cool books. Like that was really what I spent my time like in lockdown doing.
Yeah.
Like was just, showing up on social media, building a digital community. It was really exciting. I felt like it was a great outlet for me during lockdown when,
Right.
I mean, and I was in New York City, so things were really, really crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
really dire in New York. So it was a great creative outlet for me. And yeah, I guess by the end of that year, so that was the year that in 2020, I paid off $23,000 of debt in 12 months.
Wow.
And that was also kind of like, I guess, a series that I was talking about in Flynanced, right? It
Yeah.
was just like, I'm doing this, watch me do it, right? It was a big thing, I think, also like in the debt-free community to like put out how much debt you were in and like tell people every month, like, this is how much I've contributed to debt. This is what I've done. So like that was kind of also what I was doing. Like every month I would share an update with people. Oh, I got my bonus. This is what I'm doing with it. Oh, I moved to a new job. This is how my budget is changing. I was being very transparent with people about my numbers. By the end of that year, I did pay off all my debt, and I reached my first 10,000 followers.
What was it like sharing the amount of debt you were in for the first time publicly?
Ooh, I love that question. It was scary.
I bet.
It was scary. I mean, I was sharing things like my closest friends didn't even know about me.
Right.
Like, we just, I think Flynanced allowed, like taking that leap to start Flynanced also allowed me to have better conversations with people in my like real life about money.
Yeah.
Like
You would post it and then you'd be like, okay, well, now that it's out there.
right now
yeah.
that's out, or like I would start posting things and like my friends would like come to me and start to be like sharing things with me, and it's like, oh, this is great. It's not that I feel like I ever had these walls up with people, but we know that money is so taboo,
Right.
like if you are not in communities where people talk freely about how much you earn, how much you make, how much debt you're in, it can feel like, oh, maybe those are things we just don't talk about, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I feel like I've even had better conversations with my parents about money, and like, I didn't grow up talking about money with my parents at all. Like,
Right.
I was taught that was like not something that as a child I needed to worry about. So we never talked about money. So even with me starting Flynanced, I think it allowed me to have more transparent conversations with people in my life. But it was scary. It definitely was scary. I wasn't sure how people would receive it. I didn't want to feel judged.
Right.
It felt very courageous to like put those kind of numbers out there, right?
Right.
And like I would tell people, this is how much I'm earning. Like this is what my salary is. This is what my debt looks like, because I felt if I don't tell Black women, we won't know. We won't know. Like no one's telling us. No one's lifting the veil for us to be like, oh, hey, this is how much you should be earning, right? And I think, that's also when things just started to like really springboard for me, right? Like, I would say like, so 2020 was like the year of like, oh, I'm paying off the debt. 2021, we're still in the pandemic. I decided to move to Tulum.
You moved to Tulum?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
See, this is how like obsessed with travel I am. I was just like, so then that kind of became like the next phase of like what Flynanced looked like. It was like, oh, remote job. This could be a thing. Like, right? Like, I mean, the world is like kind of changing as we're living in it. So it's kind of like, wait, I love this freedom and flexibility of having a remote job. I loved living in Tulum. Financially, I am thriving. Like, I was able for the first time in my life to save 50% or more of my income living in Tulum.
Yeah.
Like, as I was reading books where people were talking about geographic arbitrage, right? Like, a book that I love is Quit Like a Millionaire. But the authors talk about if you live in a high cost of living city or country, if you were to have your same income but now move to a country that is, considerably, more cost effective, that is going to accelerate your wealth building journey, right? But it's one thing to like read concepts. It's another thing to like experience it when I'm like living in Tulum and I'm just like, oh, wow, I can like max out my 401k. I have like all this money I can put into investments. Like I was financially thriving, but I didn't feel like I was suffering or I didn't feel like I was depriving myself because I could get on my bike and go to
Yeah.
the beach, right? I
Right.
could eat fresh food. I was in a beautiful beach locale. So that was kind of like the next iteration of Flynanced. And I think then reality hit me, then the RTO started happening, right? That was kind of like, that was kind of like late 2022. RTO started happening. I no longer felt super happy at like the company that I was working at the time. And then I was just like, I'm going to get aggressive about job searching and land a new job. And what I did not know is that like in me doing that and then also kind of like sharing, oh, I just job topped y'all and like got a new job because this is what I do. I tell y'all everything about my money on Flynanced. That's when things just like totally exploded for me, like on Flynanced. Like that was literally when things exploded for me. This was the beginning of 2022. Things absolutely exploded. I started talking less about travel and I started talking more about careers, remote jobs, what I do as a product manager. And I realized like, okay, all of these things are still connected, right? Because at the end of the day, what I'm talking about now is just like, I love to have options and I want more women that look like me, that follow me, to have options and to know what is possible for us, right? That it's like, call me, I guess, your big sister on the internet, or your little sister, which is like, girl, you could be making more money and have more flexibility. But that's when things exploded. I mean, like I, for the first time, was like going really viral. I had so much demand for people that wanted to work with me. Brands were starting to like pay attention to what I had to say. That was when I really felt for the first time, oh, Flynanced is a part of my career. This is not just like a hobby that I have. Like this is a platform that I can make real money from.
Yeah.
But it's also really impactful. Like now I really can tangibly see the people whose lives are being changed by like what I'm sharing, right? I'm not just, glorifying travel. Now I'm actually helping people earn money, negotiate, raises, build careers that they didn't know were possible. So it's been an evolution. That's why I feel like I have to kind of give that context, because I feel like if you kind of see my work today, you might not know like all the pivots and transitions that I've had even just since 2020.
Well, I was going to say, I wish I was following you back then because, also being a woman of color, like I was just told for a lot of my career to just take what I was given and accept it, because that was like
what we do. That's what we do.
And I'm lucky that at least I had people in my life at the time who told me like always ask for more money and salary negotiate, things like that. So I did have some of that, but like still I was not, if the answer was no, I was like, okay. Like I relate to not really knowing that there was more out there. I quit my full-time job 2 years ago and have been full-time freelancing since then.
Oh, wow. That's
and since then I've made almost double what I used to make at a full-time job.
Amazing.
I didn't know this was possible until seeing like Flynanced, people like you who show like there's another way. There's another way than the 9 to 5 where you're just accepting whatever someone gave you.
Let's call it what it is, breadcrumbs.
Even when you're unhappy, it's like, but this is what people do. People are just unhappy at work. And then you created this whole new path that you don't have to be unhappy in your job.
Right.
You don't have to be unhappy in your salary or your life. So that's like really beautiful. So now we're in 2022.
Okay, yes. We fast forward to 2022. Yes. So I've job hopped again. I'm working a new job. It's for the first time. It is fully remote. It's not just like a COVID remote. It's fully remote. It's the most money that I've ever made in my life.
And how much was that at the time?
I remember making a lot of content around like my my offer at the time, because it was like a big tech offer. I was working at PayPal. I remember my base maybe being like 190-ish. I got a $20,000 sign-on bonus. And then I want to say that they offered me maybe like $200,000 in RSUs, but it was like split over like 4 years.
Right.
So obviously I didn't get that, but all in that total compensation, like that was the most money.
Oh, definitely.
I'd ever made in my career. Right. And,
and at that point, had you started monetizing Flynanced?
So the beginning of 2022, no, I had not really made any real money from finance. Like not enough that I felt like this was a genuine, backup plan for me. No.
Right.
2020 was my first year, I would say, like of like true market fit. Like that was my first 6-figure year. So yeah, that was the first year that I was like, wow, okay, I'm earning from Flynanced, but I also have a well-paid job that fully covers my bills and expenses. So yeah, that was the first year that I felt like, oh wow, this is what it's about, right? Like I really feel like I can aggressively reach my financial goals. Like I still feel like I have disposable money left over. That was when I really started to kind of see the value of working a 9-to-5 and then also having this like monetized platform on the side. But I think what I didn't really anticipate was like getting laid off like the next year, right? So that, I will say, like my layoff, and even though like I was very open with people about it, right? Because I had talked about my job and I had talked about like this total comp for so long, it definitely rocked me. Like it rocked me. Like it was, the first time that I was laid off, and I really don't think that I took a second to really take stock of how this would impact me financially. So because of that, I think I spent a lot of 2023 still existing as if I was getting paid that PayPal salary. And by the end of 2023, my finances were a mess. Like they were a mess. Like I had really lost sight, I think, of being really diligent about like where my money was going, both in the business and my personal finances. I had totally lost sight of like retire early. Like what, are you even tracking that? Like, are we even there? I have no idea. I don't know. And I think I was also, I think, in such a space where I believed that in order to be a successful, quote unquote, full-time entrepreneur, I needed this like big team and I needed to like show how busy I was. And I have this company and, and I think because of that, unfortunately, I mismanaged like the money that I made with Flynanced. Like I did really well in 2022 and 2023, but unfortunately, I think I let a lot of that money slip through my fingers because I thought I needed a team of people and contractors and this, and I need fancy this and all of this. And unfortunately, I don't feel like I, again, had very much to show for all of the money that I made. And I will say I'm still working through that. Like I am still working through forgiving myself like for that. And this is probably the first time I've ever said that, like live.
Wow.
But I definitely spiraled a little bit. And I think something else that I feel called to say right now in this moment is that like I love having a 9-to-5 job, even though I'm a quote unquote successful creator, right? Like, yes, I'm someone who's made 6 figures. I've made, $200,000 plus as a creator in a year. I never wanted to quit my job. Like PayPal would have had to fire me because I would have not walked away from that job, right? Golden handcuffs is exactly what I had, right? I had a cushy, fully remote, high 6-figure job that wasn't incredibly demanding. I was really good at it. And it just gave me a level of stability that I really like, I like having a stable income that I can depend on so that I can really be choosy about how I spend my time as a creator. So that was the part that I felt like a lot of folks in my community and even in my personal life didn't really understand. Like when I was then saying, I'm going to go back to work, I think people were really shocked that it's like, well, you've quote unquote achieved the American dream. Like you're a successful creator. You have all these followers. You have all these brand deals. Why would you want to go back to work? Why would you want to work for someone else? And I think that I had to realize, well, the time that I lost not really being focused on my financial goals, I want to make that up.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the fastest way for me to be able to do that is to balance 2 incomes again.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
That was so vulnerable. And first, I want to say, I know you said you're still forgiving yourself from that time, but the way I see it is you have made such a bold move in sharing every part of your story with women, with people on the internet, that you're doing all of this for the first time for everyone's benefit. You're able to share all of this because you're not the expert, because you're doing it for the first time. So how could you always make the quote unquote right move? It was part of your sacrifice, I would say, to be able to share the ups and downs. And I think that's what makes your content so relatable. It's what makes you so relatable. And I think it's what makes finance what it is. It isn't like we have all the answers for you all the time because we did this the way it's always been done. You're creating a new way of doing things. So how could you know when you're creating something for the first time? So I want to say that was my first takeaway.
I
from
love
what
that.
You said.
Thank you.
But I also, when you were talking, I was almost getting this like nervousness of how did you feel when you were like, okay, now not only was I laid off from a job I really loved, but now I have to tell people online. What was going through your head? What was that like?
Oh, my reflex is to post first and then reflect later. And that was kind of what I leaned into. I just wanted to be honest with people that this is what was happening, right? Because now I'm in a period of finance where I talk so much about career growth around job searching that I didn't feel that I would have integrity as a creator if I held this from people that like, oh, I've been laid off and I'm just choosing not to share with y'all. So yeah, it was very much like, I'm going to post first and then reflect later. And the reception was like extremely positive. I will say also, I guess if we think about like the timelines of like all these big tech layoffs, this was kind of like, I was like in the early wave of like this like 2022, to 2024, I guess, like mass layoffs that happened. So I appreciate the comment that you just said about like me being so transparent and sharing the ups and downs. It absolutely did help women that would then get laid off, right? Because I talked about, oh, I negotiated severance. Y'all, did y'all know about employment attorneys? Because I just found this out. So here's the person I worked with, right? Yeah. And I know that helped a lot of women too. But I think that women all in my community probably also saw that even those of us that enjoy working the 9-to-5s, we probably all need to monetize a skill outside of that 9-to-5 just in case of emergency. And I'm glad that I had put the work into Flynanced because I can't imagine what my life would have looked like if I had totally lost my job and didn't have this platform or business to fall back on. Like that really frightens me, right? Like I think, yeah, I absolutely spiraled by just trying to figure out how do I make this income as an entrepreneur work? But I can't imagine being in a space where I have to figure all of this out alone and there's no income coming in, like, which I think helped me be a better like coach and creator to women that I serve, because when I meet with women who are just like, I've been out of work for months, I now also know what that feels like to be in a job search where you do really need that job to start. You are really borderline desperate for that offer to come in, and just how demoralizing it can be to be in a job search, just how isolating it can feel. And, something that we talked about before we started filming, just how much of the blame comes back to you as the individual, that it's like, well, why haven't you figured this out by now? And I would be lying if I said that I didn't carry some of that with me as we fast forward to 2024, when I made the decision, like, I'm going to go back to work. Of course, I was transparent about that on Flynanced, right? Because for 2 years, I've told y'all how to get jobs. I've told you strategies on how I've done it before. Now I'm absolutely going to show you how I'm doing it now.
We know that unfortunately, layoffs are still part of life, especially, unfortunately, as you pointed out this year. especially for, people in the federal government and elsewhere, and like with the tech world, things like that. What advice or what words do you have to say to someone who's maybe going through that in today's 2025?
What I would say would have helped me was talking to someone about what I was really feeling. I think I had so much pride around the identity I'd built around work that I felt a little bit of shame to really, even though clearly I was talking about it, but I don't think I was really talking about how it made me feel and the ways in which I guess it was shattering like that version of myself that I had kind of seen myself as. That would be the first thing, because I think there are so many emotions that happen when you are laid off that you have to take stock of, or they will manifest in other parts of your life. And that's exactly what happened to me. I think because I really bottled up how I really felt about being laid off, and I didn't really allow myself a space to release what I was feeling, it manifested in the way I was taking care of my finances, the little care I was taking of myself physically. Oh, I think the second thing that I would say in terms of advice would be, I think, to first and foremost, I mean, I know bills have to be paid. So I hate to give the advice around like, just get back out there and look for a job, because that's not it. And that's not even what I did. But what I will say is that I think all of us have many skills that we may take for granted, that are maybe are innate to us, that people come to us for, that just come to us easily, that maybe we've never explored. What could this manifest into? How could this materialize into another income stream for me, into a quick gig for me, into some consulting money for me, right? I think, unfortunately, with the rise, and I'm a creator, and I will say this, with the rise of TikTok and creators, I think that people think the only way to make money is I have to make content online or I have to work a 9 to 5. But there's so many different ways that your skills can create value and you can get money from those skills. That would be my next thing, right? Because I do think that the job market is tough, and I help people in their job searches. And I will still also say, but if you have that skill that we could monetize, and you could consult, get a gig, do a little side hustle, help a small business owner that, you're a pro at digital marketing and these small business owners that need help with that. That's alignment. That's value that can help you in this, transition period. That would be my second piece of advice, because I do think that that's probably more realistic. I mean, that's what I did, right? I leaned on skills that weren't in my 9 to 5 in kind of this transition. And then when I got to a point where I felt like I had more energy and was in a better place, then I allowed myself to kind of transition back into the 9 to 5. That would be my advice. But it's tough. I think lean on community. And I think talk to other people who are also going through it in your community. Even though I was so vocal with being laid off, I don't think that I really leaned on people who are also going through it. And that's something I also wish I had done.
How long did you not have a 9 to 5? And then what was the process of getting back to a 9 to 5? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, I did not have a 9 to 5 for 20 months from my layoff to getting rehired. And at first, like I said, it didn't feel so bad, but then it's like, oh my gosh, my savings is, I'm running out of money. The business is kind of like, woo, I'm a little burnt out. Like, things never really got dire, but I do think like I said, my finances took a hit, and I realized like, okay, if I want to get this back on track, I'm either going to have to like work really hard as a solo entrepreneur to make enough money for me personally to be able to pull myself out of this hole, or what's my fallback? I'm going to go back to a 9 to 5. Not even a fallback. I mean, like I said, I enjoy having a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
That could also just be the period of life that I'm in. But it just feels good to me, you know? And that's just like the best way I can explain it. It just feels good to me. And that's why I coined the term 9 to 5 hotties, because I feel like online, people do not give us enough respect. Just the girls who love a 9 to 5 paycheck. There's no shame in that.
No shame at all. I mean, a 9 to 5 gives you stability. You know
Stability.
exactly how much is being deposited directly into your bank account without any sort of like chasing
No
or anything
chasing
like
or
that.
following up.
You have
Health benefits.
Oh.
Oh gosh, because I learned about that, like how expensive it is to be self-insured. Wow. Oh my God.
Is that what you were doing during the 20 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just a entrepreneur. So I was self-insured and yeah. Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's so expensive.
So expensive. Retirement benefits. I was not saving for retirement at all during those 20 months. No, I was not.
Right.
I was not. I put a pause on all of that, right? Because at the end of the day, what was more important was ensuring that my basic needs were covered. And unfortunately, that did not leave very much else for investing aggressively.
Right.
Which, again, right, like, even though, like I'm saying, in years previously, I had taken my foot off of the gas on fire, but it's not like I totally abandoned it. Like, to be clear, I still never want to work till I'm 65. So I do know, okay, girl, this is a good amount of time that we have not been contributing to any sort of retirement account, right? And I think I just also realized, like, as an entrepreneur, if you have this business, the top line revenue that you make is not necessarily what, comes to you at the end of the day, right? Like, even if you do have minimal expenses, you got taxes, you have other things that as a business owner, you have to think about.
Taxes.
Wow.
Mhm.
There were just so many things that I'm just like, no one talks about this.
I don't think it's weird at all to enjoy a 9 to 5. Like, so much comes with it. And I think through our conversation too, it's so apparent, no matter what choice you make with your finances, you're sacrificing something else. When you work for yourself, you get some great things, you lose some great things.
I think I was a little bit in a freeze mode. I was in a little bit of a freeze mode after that layoff. I don't think I really took stock of the emotional toll that it had on me. I just kind of jumped right into the next thing, the next brand deal, the next launch. And because of that, I think I stopped really paying attention to my personal finances, to the the finances of the business. And I think that is where kind of things spiraled a little bit for me. And that's kind of like what took me to where I am now, where I'm like, okay, I am back in a 9 to 5. I was really intentional in 2024 about going back to a 9 to 5. And a lot of it was because I wanted to get back to a place of financial stability for me. I wanted to have a level of stability that I felt comfortable with. I love running Flynanced. I don't love running it full time right now. I just don't. I can comfortably manage Flynanced as a small business right now. And that works for me. Like, I feel like I'm helping people. It feels sustainable for me. I don't feel like I'm super burnt out balancing the 9 to 5 and Flynanced. I'm also just still like a hot girl, We're just 31. We're just girls. I mean, what is 31?
Right.
We're still in our late 20s according to TikTok math, right?
Definitely.
So
we also lost the COVID years.
That's what I'm saying. We're really like
we're 25.
We're 25?
We're 25.
I thought we were 27. Wait, for 31? Okay, anyway. We're in our late 20s, for real. So that's, and I think when it comes to me, what I also realize that I value more than anything is freedom. Like, I want to be able to fully disconnect if I need to from work, take my PTO, from the business. It's okay.
Yeah.
Because people aren't relying too heavily on me to show up, to pay the bills, to make sure payrolls run. And that feels good to me. If I want to take a vacation, if I want to take time off, if I want to spend time with friends and family, that's the balance that makes sense for me right now. And I still feel with both the 9 to 5 and the money that I make from Flynanced, I am comfortably working towards my financial goals. I am comfortably back on track towards retiring early. Maybe it might not be exactly 50, 49. It might be a little bit extended. But, like I feel comfortable about where I am financially. And I realize that is all I need right now. And that's taken some time of me really reflecting and thinking about what do I really value? For me, it really is about the stability and the freedom right now. And that feels like the sweet spot for me. And I will say that also comes with probably a lot of privilege that I have, right? I don't have many people depending on me. I don't have children. I am joyfully single, as Tracy Ellis Ross says.
Love.
I really just have to worry about me,
Yeah.
and that's really a blessing. So I think it's helped me really fine tune like what do I really feel like I need in this moment, and maybe next year, as you see, every year I major in something else in life.
Yeah, love.
This is the year I'm pulling myself out of my little financial hole that I dug for myself, and that's okay. We're gonna tidy that back up, and a new plant is gonna grow from that spot. Next year, I don't know. Maybe I'll think differently, but for right now, this feels comfortable.
What was the process like scaling back with Flynanced?
It almost looked like burning it all to the ground.
Yeah.
No, I will say really transparently, I got very burnt out at the end of 2023. I was very, very burnt out. I think, again, because this layoff happened, I didn't take really stock of the emotional toll. I mean, therapy goes out the window when you're paying for your own health insurance. I wasn't going to therapy. I wasn't really talking to anyone about like, how are you managing how you're feeling right now with this layoff, right? Like, yes, you're sharing on Instagram, you're being very transparent, but how are you really feeling? And I was not really feeling too great.
Yeah.
So by the end of 2023, I took a whole month off of Flynanced. Like I had to walk away from some campaigns. I had to walk away from some opportunities that I had lined up because I had nothing left to give. Like I had just not given myself any time to really just pause, that I feel like my body was like, well, now we're gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
But it also manifested, I think, in other parts of my life, right? Like I realized I wasn't taking care of my health. Like I started to look myself in the mirror and realize I didn't recognize myself because I hadn't been taking care of myself. And that's when things really started to shift, that it's like, as I was coming into 2024, I was just like, this is not how I want to do this, right? Like I don't feel healthy. I don't feel good. I don't feel balanced. Like I feel very out of whack. Like I don't feel like I'm showing up as the best self for my community, for my clients, definitely not for myself. That's when I realized I need to scale back. Like I need to be a lot more lean with this business. I need to prioritize taking care of myself first and foremost. So that's kind of what happened, honestly. Like I wish I could have said it was like a softer landing, but I crashed really hard, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna crawl my way until I can walk, until I can get momentum and kind of shift things from there.
Which I also think is so important to show people. Like burnout is so real,
Yeah.
Especially if you're in the FIRE movement, if you're just trying to be financially stable in general, in no movement, the movement of life. Like burnout is so real.
It's so real.
So I think you're reflecting a lot of people's experiences back to them through the content too. On the outside, success looks like it's happening. It looks like you're making a lot of money. You have these flights and plans, and it can feel like you're in this cycle of I have to hustle, I have to hustle, I have to hustle, even when you're like, I'm not feeling physically good. I'm not feeling mentally good. I'm not feeling balanced, as you were talking about. What piece of advice do you have for someone who feels kind of stuck in that hustle culture?
I struggle with this one.
Yeah.
I struggle with this one because for me, I don't even read it as hustle culture. I sometimes read it, especially being a Black woman. I'm struggling with the words right now, but it isn't hustle culture, but it's almost like survival mode. And when I think about like the women in my life, that's how I've seen them show up. That it's like, well, is this not normal? Isn't this
Yeah.
normal? Aren't
Yeah.
you supposed to work yourself to the bone?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm the first woman in my entire lineage who is 31 without children. So imagine working myself to the bone and then also being a caretaker. Like, I mean, so sometimes I feel like, do I even have room to complain? I mean, at 31, my mother already had a 7-year-old child at home, on top of working a 9 to 5, on top of barely making any. I mean, we'll talk really transparently that like, she's like, I've never made as much money as you make in your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And I can't even wrap my head around how the hell did you, what?
Totally.
But I think that's the
Yeah.
story, unfortunately, of women in our lives, of the story of immigrant families, a story of being first generation. I think the story of being a person of color, being working class. I mean, I can't even call it hustle culture. Like I think that it's deeper than that. I mean, it feels very insidious. I think even since the pandemic, I feel like, I don't know if you felt this, but in 2020, it felt like, okay, the world is healing. Like we are, like people
Oh,
are slowing
yeah.
down. Like we have to not do less. Like we're going to create a new world, people, where we're not going to kill ourselves just to survive. And it feels like things have taken a hockey stick. Like it's insane now. I mean, and it's just to, I sometimes felt like I wasn't even just hustling to be like, oh, I'm trying to make millions of dollars. Like I'm just trying to like survive in New York City,
Yeah.
you know? So I say all that to say, I can't give any advice because I don't even myself have the answers. But what I will say is that I definitely felt that. I definitely felt like I was going too fast. I felt like I didn't have a sustainable exit. I didn't know how to get myself off the highway. And I felt like it wasn't until my physical health started to be impacted that I was like, oh, I guess I have to slow down now. Yeah, I mean, I physically can't get out of bed. So I guess I'm at my limit now. I guess the car ran out of gas. But it's something I struggle with. It's something that I definitely struggle with. And I think that I've realized that I've carried this with me my whole life, right? Like, how did I even get to a point where I was making all of this money in my 9 to 5? It was getting into an Ivy League school. How did I even get into an Ivy League school coming from where I come from? As, people had no expectations of me being, a young Black woman from Baltimore City. What? You're not going to make much of yourself. So it's like, I think my entire life I've been programmed almost to outwork. You have to work. I mean, there's a saying in the Black community, you have to work 10 times as hard to get half as far.
Yeah.
So it's like, if we grow up with these messages that like, that's what's expected of us, just to be at equal with our peers, it's always going to follow you. So I don't even know.
No,
what do you think?
that's
Because I feel
such a-
like we
It's such
talked
a
about this.
thoughtful response. I relate in so many ways. I watched my parents just work so hard. I never saw them not working.
Yeah.
But then to your point, so I felt like that is what was needed of me. Like, and I felt that way. Like, I felt like I had to work really, really hard to push through everything, to be taken seriously, to pay the bills, to set myself up, because I knew, and I think you can relate, that I wanted my life to look different than anything I'd seen before me.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't know what the answer is. I think there are people that work 10 times as hard as me that can't even name hustle culture because that's just life.
That's just life.
That's just life.
That's just surviving in America or wherever in the world they are. Yeah.
Right. So we're now in 2024. You have a new job.
Yes. By fall of 2024, I had a new job. Yeah. My job search took about 5.5 months. 5.5 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In 2024.
And what has life been like since 2024 to now?
What a loaded question.
We can break it down by week, by day.
Well, I mean, let's take a step back. The job search was like, okay, I want to go back to a job. I was very transparent. By now, I was kind of feeling like myself again. I was being super aggressive, but I was being super transparent with my community about like exactly what I was doing. And when I did get the offer with the federal government, it came as a shock because I was not really checking for the government, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, I've always worked in the private sector.
Right.
I didn't even know the first thing about getting a government job. Now, obviously, I knew we were about to go into an election. So that did give me a little bit of pause because I remember asking this in the interview process. And of course, my interviewers, who are now my colleagues, did their best to give me a neutral answer. But I don't think any of us would have anticipated what was to come for government employees, when the new presidential administration came into office. So I will just say I'm learning a lot, but it has been very intense in ways that I was not expecting. Like, whoa, I've gone through restructurings. I've gone through a layoff in private sector. I've gone through reorgs in private sector. I have nothing has compared to what I experienced at the beginning of 2025, being a federal employee and my agency losing so many people, at the beginning of this year. Like, just like let's just call it like the scare tactics, the pressure, the onslaught of like both like people in your life who genuinely care, like how are you doing? But then it's also like going to work and it's very clear my leaders don't know what's happening every day, kind of like bracing, like, is this going to be our last day? There was a lot of that. Like that definitely was a really intense, I would say like 2.5 months of kind of going through that. But I do enjoy the work that I do. It's been really exciting to bring my skills from private sector to this work. I never would have saw myself here. And it's definitely opened my eyes in ways that I hope I can share with more folks through Flynanced, that if you do choose to work for the federal government, at least now I have a perspective on it to show like
another chapter.
Yet another chapter that I can, share with people, because I do think that there are many opportunities across the federal government. And I see now, being inside the federal government, that, wow, there's also really a need for talented people, to help with this work too.
So between your job now, understanding that right now 9 to 5 is what speaks to you, but then also having this really successful business of Flynanced, do you feel like you've made it? And what does success even look like to you in this moment?
If we were to rewind back to 2020 and I could like have a conversation with that version of Cinneah who was just starting like her first posts on Flynanced, absolutely, I've made it. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Like I have surpassed what I even thought I was capable of. I've done everything I ever manifested and then some, right? Like I remember just having a goal, like, I would love to have 10,000 followers. Like, what would that feel like? I would love to make a little bit of money, maybe $1,000 outside. Like, I mean, like I just had such, I just was not really aware of like what I was going to be able to do with this, And to the point that we've kind of made earlier, just being an influencer was such like, it wasn't really a thing in 2020, right? So there weren't really too many people I was kind of looking to say, wow, I can be just like that person. And so, yeah, I mean, and if I think about along that journey, just the women that I've met who like, I mean, I've been in the like the most random places. I've been at basketball games. I've been on vacations. I've been like in the most random places where people will be like, I know who you are, or like, oh my gosh, you're Flynanced, or I just want to tell you that you've helped me. Like I never told you, but you've helped me do XYZ. You helped me land a job. I'm making so much more money because I followed your content. I've told so many people about you, right? Like that humbles me, right? Like that humbles me. So by those markers of success, I've absolutely made it. What does success look like for me right now? I think financially, I do want to get back to a place where I feel that I am on track to retire. Like I want to feel that again, right? Like I'm so proud of what baby Cinneah in her 20s did, because even though I've had these moments where, you know, life has thrown me curveballs, I'm still in a great place. And I'm so grateful that I took those steps even years ago to start managing my money differently and starting to invest, right? But yeah, I mean, I think success for me right now looks like I do really want to, I guess, achieve the goals that I still have yet to achieve. I want to be able to fully retire my parents. Ooh, you know? So that's kind of like what's on my spirit right now. But I feel good. And as I look back on just kind of like in the last year, I'm also just like very proud of how I've taken care of myself. That it's like the financial goals are important, yes, but when I look at how I've been able to take better care of my emotional health, my physical health, my mental health, I feel like a different person than I did even just a year ago. And other people see it. Like I think people close to me see it. Mm-hmm. So that also feels like something that I'm really grateful for, especially in this moment. Yeah.
Love that. And you've just like created such a community.
Yeah.
And I think that in itself is really amazing.
And I'm so grateful for that. And I think that's kind of like what the next phase of Flynanced looks like. I think for the past 5 years as a creator, I've been so vocal about like my story, here's what I'm doing. But what I feel the next chapter of Flynanced looks like is really helping more women in my community, like pulling them up. Like, yes, I've been doing that, but I think really being able to do that like at scale and really be able to kind of see the women that I am helping kind of get to like the next phase in their financial or professional journeys. That's kind of like that's where I'm putting my focus now.
Thank you so much for being here.
This was awesome. Thank you.
So great. Is there anything you want to plug, and where can people find you?
Yes, people can find me at Flynanced on all social media platforms, FLYNANCED, or Flynanced.com. I would just say stay tuned. Like I feel like I'm cooking up some things to help my community just navigate the uncertain times that we're in. And I'm excited about what this next chapter looks like. So if any of this conversation is speaking to you, check me out at Flynanced, and I have a lot more to share.